Hey Jason, how did you build your back? All right, pretty straightforward. This is a video I kind of make a lot. I've had to make it quite a few times because it seems like, no matter how many times I discuss this, there's always people who come in and are like, well, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I focus on squeezing my lat? Should I find the perfect angle of a pull down that aligns with the fibers? And then, they notice I got a pretty big back. And all my back work is very, very basic. Now, I've included stuff from even over a couple of months in here, and actually some of this from a really heavy deadlift I did a year ago. But it's to kind of show you guys an idea of the variety of stuff that I've done over time for my back. And you'll notice it's all basic though, right? It's all basic. And I'm not knocking machines or cables, by the way. I'm not telling you they're useless. I'm not telling you they don't have their place. I want to be clear here. They're just tools in the toolbox. But I think the bread and butter for building a big, massive, thick, strong back is always going to be combinations of body weight movements, barbells, and dumbbells. Okay? And dumbbells can be optional, but I do kind of like dumbbells. I think dumbbells have their place. I think those one-arm dumbbell rows for phases can be pretty dang good exercise, right? If you get a good stretch on them, take them through a full range of motion. Okay, but look at what you see me doing here. Obviously, always heavy deadlifts. You saw me do a 635 at the start. That's like what, 283 kilograms. I did that on a stiff bar. Because over here I'm doing them all beltless there. All right, you're always going to see me do deadlifts. And I want to state, I don't think deadlifts are the most important on this list. Let me be clear there. As much as I love pimping the deadlift, and I think it does contribute to back development, it's really a posterior chain exercise. Because that's what's doing the work. The back has more of an isometric and stabilization role. All right, so what's the real bread and butter? Rows and pull-ups. I think that if you just get good at those, okay, and notice I'm not that good at these pull-ups here. I took a long time off from pull-ups while dealing with some shoulder issues, and I've just recently started doing them when I got this footage. So yeah, I know I'm only doing sets of 8. But I am doing them from a dead hang at the bottom. But I've been working on the mobility and the health. Okay. All right, rows. And there's a lot of ways. These are really strict, so these are light. But you guys have seen me do, heavier rows, even like 275 for work sets. But I cheat a little more. Grip can be a little more of a limit. All right, but I like strict rows. Strict rows can really bring a lot, whether it's a bent over row like this. It can be traditional barbell rows or a Pendlay row off the floor. I think they're all good. Honestly, let me just be frank. I don't think that there is a best row. All right. I think any row in which you get a stretch at the bottom and you train hard is a fantastic foundation for your back. I don't care if it's a stricter bent over row like this. I don't care if it's a little bit of a cheat row, although then if you're having to use straps, you're losing grip. You're not getting the grip training you want. I tend to use straps for things like Romanian deadlifts, which I didn't include any in here. But rows, all types of rows. Can be stricter, can be cheat rows, be inverted rows if you can't do pull-ups. I like inverted rows for people who can't do pull-ups. All right, it's where you hold onto a bar. Right, a low bar, and then you get under it, pull yourself up to it with your heels on the floor. Dumbbell rows can be good. Meadows rows can be good, right? The late John Meadows kind of popularized those. I don't ever do those. You never see. I've never done them. I've prescribed them to clients every now and then, but I don't knock them. I think it is a good exercise. But let's come over to my point. I think all rows in which you get a good stretch and you work hard, I think all rows can build a big back. I think rows will always be your foundation. I think that they're pretty much the king. All this other stuff is just icing on the cake. Okay, so what else do you see me doing in here? So doing some pullovers. I think pullovers can help. But let's come over to the other thing. If we're going to do pull-ups and we don't have the best of shoulder health and mobility, those pullovers are one of the tools I'm using to help that. They do build the lats in addition to the pecs, potentially long head of the tricep. I know that's subject to debate. I believe it does stimulate them. I mean, you feel them. They're moved dynamically, they're worked dynamically, and then they're put into a stretch position. I think it works them. But it does work, the lats, the traps, all of that, it works it. Also can help with your shoulder health for pull-ups, because if you get good at pull-ups, you're going to have lats, right? It's hard to be strong at pull-ups. Keep in mind, I'm over 220 pounds when I'm doing these, still rebuilding them. I used to be able to do sets of 20. I'm going to get back to that. All right, if you get good at full range of motion pull-ups, you're going to have big lats. It might not be your entire back, but your lats will be big. Will that carry over to having better rows, which will build everything? Yes. Will the pullovers potentially also help with the pull-ups? Yes. Okay, these things all feed each other. Okay, that's the way to look at it too. Even though I might say, okay, guys, rows are king. Can all these other exercises feed into the whole totality of it? Yes. And even though my background is powerlifting and I've not cared about physique or aesthetics, I'm slowly drifting towards caring about that. You know, it's good for my outreach. It's good for getting my message out. I've always taken back training really seriously. And in a lot of ways, like a bodybuilder, because I've realized for strength athletes, having as big of a back as possible is just it's good for your power lifts. It's good for your strength. It's good for your longevity under a heavy bar. Build your back up. And I've always treated it that way. I'm like, let's hit these different angles. Let's work them hard, but let's put some real tension on the muscle. That is really the key. But rows first. Rows are king. But then if you can handle them, pull-ups. If not, I mean, maybe some lat pull-downs aren't a bad idea. You know, if you can't do pull-ups yet, I'll sign off on a lat pull-down. There we go. I think that's fair. I just think pull-ups are better. Deadlifts. But all my people, everyone I coach and everyone I advise is hopefully deadlifting. Conventional deadlifts, man, they help with your overall back development, traps, and all of those things. All right, some pullovers. Pullovers, I think, can add a little bit of a finishing touch, but doesn't it all feed together? All of this combined works different parts of your back. Some of these will help you improve at the other lifts. They feed into each other, and if you just get all around better, you're going to have a big back. All right. If you're over 200 pounds and you can crank out any weight on a pull-up, or you can do, 10 pull-ups from a dead hang at anything over 200. You can do rep work with 500 on a deadlift. You can pull it a couple times. I've done it for up to 11 on camera, all reset. But you can do any reps with 500. You can handle a respectable weight on some rows, and that's going to vary on the style of row you're doing. You're going to have a back. Okay, you're going to have good, well-rounded back development. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.